Welcome to Secret Talks. I'm your host, Michaell Magrutsche, here with Dr. Joen Painter and Hillary F. Brown. We are certified personal coaches that let you listen in on our private master sessions, where we discuss topics that come up with us or our clients. 201, Relationship, Staying or Leave. In our relationship series, this episode is about stay or go in a relationship. When do you know that a relationship is good or over, or if you should stand in the relationship? Dr. Pat Allen, the relationship expert, has a formula that says if 51% are good in a relationship and 49 are bad, stay in the relationship. If it's getting under 50, leave. And she also says never leave before you are indifferent and just can walk out. I kind of agree with this when we three all discussed this. And how do you really determine 51%? And I'm not talking 51%. If half is good or more than half is bad, we found a way that we believe is the best way to actually get the most objective results for ourselves. Psychology has certain ways of dealing with likes and dislikes. Let me hand that over to Dr. Joen.
Yeah, it is an interesting way to look at things. And when somebody tells me that they're ready to get out of a relationship, I have to say, wait, we got to stop. We need to go back and remember why you fell in love with this person in the first place, because we don't just automatically fall out of love. There's something very important that happened that took place with this person. And we really need to go back and focus and find out what it was that caused us to fall in love with this person to begin with, and see if it's still there, and make our list to see if all the things that really bother us about this person, or is it just us, our lone little pet peeves? And I think we talked about that from a coaching aspect too. Right, Hillary?
Yes, we did. We talked about the reasons why we like somebody when we met them. Like, for instance, like they're really cute, funny, maybe they have a nice smile. There's some sort of spark that we noticed when we first met them. So it's helpful to write down these things, right, Joen?
Yes.
Yeah. And now we have Dr. Joen's list. What should we do after that, Hillary?
So once you decide to make this list, you want to start out writing down the positive things about your partner. You want to write that down first. And then we're going to make a list of what's new in the relationship that we like. Like, what about the relationship has improved your life? For instance, like he takes me to concerts, or we travel a lot, or we, enjoy watching movies, things that you didn't do before that maybe has improved your lifestyle. And then once we have that list, we're going to start with the negatives. Like, what is it about this person that's bothering you? Or what is causing you to want to leave the relationship? So then we end up with a list of the negatives. So you have two lists, positive and negatives. And then when we have the list in front of us, we want to look for the pet peeves and cross out the pet peeves.
What is a pet peeve, guys? Joen?
For example, it drives me crazy that he always wants to go to bed at 9 o'clock and I like to stay up until 11. Let him go to bed at 9 o'clock and not be worried about it. But so that's how you have to figure that out. Maybe in the beginning, years ago, you both stayed up real late at night and now it really bothered you. So you need to write that down and figure out, is that a pet peeve of mine, or does it really matter? Do we both really need to stay up until whatever time?
Or go to bed at 9.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe your significant other doesn't clean, or they leave things around, laundry. Like, are these that important to you? Are they things you can just do for them? Like, so-and-so leaves their socks on the ground. I'm just going to pick them up and put them in the laundry hamper, instead of freaking out about it and letting it bother me the rest of the day.
Okay, so let me reiterate what we just said. We're writing down why we fell in love with this person, what we loved with this person, what worked in this relationship at the beginning. And we're writing all these things down. Then we look at these things and say, are they still relevant? If my husband was very helpful in the beginning and now he's not, then let's cross that out. So he's not very helpful anymore. That's not a plus anymore. I don't want to have sex with him. That's a point. Cross that out. So what's helped? We are really good companions. So that's a positive. Then I go into, like you said, right, Hillary, you go into all the things that you don't like in this relationship currently.
Right.
And you write all the things that you don't write, including pet peeves. And you then take out the pet peeves and say, that is not an issue of a relationship. That is a personal annoyance that should not influence. And as we know from all the work that we have done, that usually what bothers us about other people, if they don't offend you, if they don't hurt you, is usually our own issue. I'm not saying if somebody physically attacks you, that is definitely their issue and your issue. But if you are obsessed because somebody doesn't eat with the correct spoon, that is your own issue.
I think that took, one step further with it.
Yeah.
And with that 51%, when you're talking about that and looking at all the things, I really believe that once you see that, oh my gosh, there's more things that I still really love about this person, and this was really about my own little inner problems. And so what can I do to make this relationship better? And do all the things that you remember doing for the spouse, and also showing the appreciation for the spouse, so that they'll start noticing you and that things start opening up a little bit better. Because I think that's where the breakdown typically happens. We just forget about doing for each other. Sometimes people can't identify that it is a pet peeve. They honestly can't. They think it's a big deal because they were both super athletes. They were both just really doing great and everything. The lady got pregnant, had kids, and she just wasn't interested in doing all the marathons and all that stuff anymore. And because it was just more important for her to be a mom and was enjoying being a mom more. But what I'm saying is that people don't realize what a real pet peeve is. They might not be able to identify it themselves in the relationship until they've actually written it down.
Okay. Now, what you said was you get a positive list, how things were. You add to the positive list what the things were. So you have all the positives here. And now you do the negative list, everything that bothers you, everything that doesn't work anymore, anything that makes you feel uncomfortable is an irritant to you. An irritant can be, like you said, a pet peeve, and that's an irritant. And as we know from self-realization courses or from the whole movement of self-awareness, that pet peeves are usually things that are our own things. What bothers you in others is actually issues of our own.
Because one of the things when people talk about pet peeves, or they don't realize that it is actually their pet peeve. And so when you're talking about a pet peeve, you're talking about somebody that, or something, is you do not like to pick up their clothes, or maybe you have laundry sorted a certain way, and they don't really throw their darks in with the darks or their whites in with the whites. And is it really just a pet peeve, or is it something you can actually sit down and talk to them about? Is it a deal breaker? And so a pet peeve, you decide if it's a deal breaker or not. And if it's just a laundry issue, and if you really can't talk about it, then it's a deal breaker. But otherwise, it's a pet peeve because it's something that you could work out between the two of you. Does that help?
How can a laundry issue be a relationship issue? I call it a pet peeve no matter how I look at it.
And that's because you're a healthy person in a healthy relationship. You wouldn't have a problem talking to your spouse or your significant other. But sometimes after years of marriage or something, those little things come up and it drives the other person crazy, and they don't even realize that it's driving them crazy, and that the other person doesn't even recognize that it's a big deal. And they don't recognize it's a big deal because the communication boundary has been lost. And so it's something that they just need to talk about.
I think Hillary explained that previously. When you grow intelligently more or spiritually more or in any way mentally more than the other person, that would be falling in that pet peeve category, that one person can understand that it's a pet peeve, the other person thinks, no, this is hell or high water.
Well, there's one way you can look at pet peeves. If something's bothering you, you can think, if this wasn't bothering me right now, then that person wouldn't be here, and I think I'd rather they were here.
Yeah, if the pet peeve is worse, the person not to be here.
Right. I think that's a good comparison.
Yeah. I think that helps understanding what pet peeves are. So what we're going to do with those is we're crossing these pet peeves out and eliminate them from the list. We're then looking at the positive list, verifying that all the positive things are good, are really relevant, and we feeling that, and then we go to the negative list without the pet peeves and feeling that, and then I think you will get a pretty good feeling and awareness. Is it over 50% that is good about this relationship, or is it unbearable? And I think this is the way that we three felt is the best way to evaluate if a relationship actually is worth keeping or if this relationship is ready to run out. I want to ask your opinion about letting a relationship run out so that you're indifferent and you can just walk out. Could you give me your opinion, Dr. Joen?
I think that there's times when a relationship has run out, and it could have come from the evaluation process that we just did, and you just have to be able to say, it's time to walk away. And a lot of people try to feel guilty about it. You just walk away. And there is a support person out there. Hopefully it's not another boyfriend or girlfriend that you've already set up or something, but there's somebody out there that can help you just pick up and move and walk away.
Hillary?
I believe that if you feel still like you could make it happen or make it work out, or you can work on it still, the relationship, then stay. But if you're completely done, don't waste the other person's time or yours.
Ted Allen says the least hurt happens when you just let it run out, so do you indifferent and you just can walk away.
I think that the whole idea of letting it run its course works in short relationships because you're more likely to drift apart. But in more long-term relationships, when you've intertwined your whole life together, I don't know if that would work. You might have to actually make a decision because you might, like you said, like someone might have to come pick you up and move out.
Yeah.
Or, you know, there might be kids involved. So it probably depends on the relationship.
I hope this makes sense to you, listener. And I hope this will get you to a clearer space, at least. I would do the list no matter what anyway, because it's always good to review and be conscious of what this relationship is and where you guys go. And I think doing this process will only benefit you to become more self-aware of where you are in this relationship, where is it going, and
possibly rekindling.
And rekindling it, absolutely. When you're always upset about a pet peeve, you're focusing on the pet peeve and you forget all the good stuff. Leave and then want to come back. And then it is too late, which we all have seen. Come back to a relationship. It's way harder to do than rekindling a relationship.
I think this is an effective tool for people who are confused about what to do.
For more information, go to michaellm.com. That's Michael with double L, MICHAELL.com. On the upper right-hand side, click on Wellness Team. If you like this show, please pay it forward by sharing it with your friends and like it. Thanks to my colleagues, Hillary F. Brown at hillaryfbrown.com and Dr. Joen Painter at drjoen.com. I'm your host, Michaell Magrutsche. Thanks for listening.